Um, hey guys. This week we have no intro skit. Um, a little bit of a serious talk here. It's it's been difficult. It has this past week, very difficult. Um, creative juices just haven't been flowing, and it's because no one knows what the fuck a Hoosier is. Let's go Ducks! Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Storm the Field with DJ. I am DJ, and today we are here to talk about Week 7 of the college football season. But before we get into that, please, the majority of people who watch my videos are not subscribed, so if you guys could check down below that you are subscribed. And if you aren't, why not do it? It's free, it helps push this content out to many more people. And if you guys also would like the video and comment down below, I would really appreciate it, and it would help out the channel a ton. So yeah, let's get into week 7 of the college football season. Here we go. Alright, so the first game I want to talk about this week is a game that, were it not for last week, I believe it would have been college game day. And of course, I'm talking about the Red River rivalry between the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners. This would have been a top 10 rivalry matchup, were it not for the Texas Longhorns losing to the Florida Gators last week in a pretty bad loss for the Longhorns. Looking at this game, Texas is actually favored with a 60.9% chance to win this game, and Oklahoma a 39.1% chance. This game is being played at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. I believe that should be AT&T Stadium. Uh, Oklahoma is at -110, and so is Texas. So more or less a coin flip. Oklahoma has the spread at -1.5 at the moment of recording. Um, but it did open up as a -2.5 favorite for Oklahoma. Uh, Looking at the leaders for these two teams, obviously the passing leader for the Sooners, we have John Mateer, 95 completions on 141 attempts, 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, 1,215 passing yards on the season. For Texas, you have Arch Manning, 81 of 135 for 11 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, 1,151 passing yards on the season. Then you got Troy Baylock, the freshman running back for Oklahoma, 57 carries for 257 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. Then you have the leading rusher for Texas being Arch Manning. He has 43 carries for 160 yards and 5 touchdowns. Then the leading receiver for the Sooners, you have Isaiah Satania III, 26 receptions for 359 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. Then for Texas, you got Parker Livingstone, 13 receptions for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. Looking at the defensive leaders, leading sacks for Oklahoma, you have Taylor Wayne with 8 total tackles, solo tackles on the season, 15 total tackles, and 3.5 sacks on the season. Then, for Texas, you're going to be looking for Colin Simmons. He has 10 total tackles, 5 solo tackles, and 1.5 sacks on the season. So, very different in the sack category for these two teams. Then, looking at total tackles for Oklahoma, Kip Lewis is going to be the leading tackler. 25 tackles, 9 of those being solo tackles, and a half sack on the season. And for Texas, you want to be looking for Michael Tafe. 16 solo tackles, 32 total tackles, and 1 interception on the season, which did come last week against Florida. Um, Again, the past couple of games, since the beginning of the season, Oklahoma is 5-0 and Texas is 3-2. First game losing to Ohio State, and last week losing to Florida. And Oklahoma beating Auburn and Michigan, who were both ranked at the time of the games. Last week, Oklahoma did play Kent State, so a little bit of an easier game for Oklahoma than Texas. So who do I got in this game? Boomer Sooner, baby. I think the Texas Longhorns do not stand a chance against this Sooner squad led by John Mateer. I really do think Mateer may be the best quarterback in the country at this moment, maybe only behind Dante Moore, but he is good. You cannot deny it. So I gotta take the Sooners in this one over the Longhorns in the Red River rivalry. Let's get into the next matchup. All right. So the next matchup I want to talk about is between the number 14 ranked Mizzou Tigers and the number 8 ranked Crimson Tide from Alabama. Uh, Mizzou enters this game going 4-1 on the or 5-0 on the season, entering undefeated, while Alabama has their one loss, which was to FSU to start the season. ESPN gives Alabama a 63.4% chance to win this game and Mizzou a 36.6% chance. Vegas, the spread opened up with Alabama being a favorite by 5.5 points. They are still favored by 2.5 at the current moment of recording, meaning Mizzou is at plus 2.5 on the spread. Then the money line bet, Alabama is favored at minus 150. Looking at these stat leaders, for Alabama, Ty Simpson, the leading quarterback, you have 111 completions on 158 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 1 interception, which came last week against Vanderbilt. Then for Mizzou, Bell Pribula is the quarterback for the Tigers. Uh, 110 completions on 145 attempts, 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, 1,203 yards on the season compared to Ty Simpson's 1,478 yards. On the ground, you want to be looking for Jam Miller. 38 carries for 182 yards this season. A little bit different though. He did have a lot of rushing yards against Vandy, 136 to be exact. So most of those are pretty inflated by that game against the Commodores. For he also had 38 carries and 1 touchdown. For for Mizzou, you want to be looking for Ahmad Hardy. He had 103 carries for 730 yards and 9 touchdowns. Alabama, you have their three main receivers. You have Isaiah Horton. You have Ryan Williams. But the leader at the moment is Jeremy Bernard III. 25 receptions for 392 yards and 5 touchdowns on the season. For Mizzou, you want to be looking for Kevin Coleman Jr., 39 receptions for 386 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side, for Alabama, Edric Hill is the leading sacker. He has 9 total tackles, 4 solo tackles, and 1.5 sacks on the season for the Tide. For Mizzou, the leading sacker is Damon Wilson II. 8 total tackles, 3 of them being solos, and 3.5 sacks on the season for him. On the defensive side on total tackles, you have Justin Jefferson, who has 18 solo tackles, 29 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception on the season. So he's been pretty good on that defensive side for Alabama. Then for Mizzou, Josiah Trotter is going to be who you're going to be looking for. 14 solo tackles and 28 total tackles on the season. Last games for these two squads. Last loss for Alabama, of course, coming to FSU, 31-17 in their first game of the season. But their last 3 games have been against Power 5 opponents and all been wins. A win versus Wisconsin, a win over Georgia, and a win over Vanderbilt. Then Mizzou, very big, I think that's Clark College. Central Arkansas, not much better. Then beat Kansas, Louisiana. Then they also beat South Carolina and UMass. So it is not that big of a difference between these two squads. In the stat department, however, the strength of schedule says it all. I think Alabama's going to get this win, although I'm hoping that Mizzou is able to pull this one off. And it looks like Vegas says they might. So I'm really hoping so. This is being played in Columbia, Missouri at Memorial Stadium, so Mizzou does have a little bit of a home field advantage there. And yeah, let's get into the final game before the game of the week. All right, so the final game we are going to talk about is another game that is a top 25 matchup. Um, it doesn't seem as interesting as it might become, as it is the Ohio State Buckeyes facing off against the Illinois Fighting Illini. Ohio State is an 82.3% chance to win this game, according to ESPN, and Illinois 17.7%. The line opened up with Ohio State as a 60.5 point favorite. However, now they are a 14.5 point favorite, with the money line having them at minus 750. Looking at the stat leaders, Julian Sain, 101 completions on 126 attempts, 13 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, 1,313 yards on the season. Then Luke Altmaier, 109 yards on 148 attempts, 12 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 1,573 yards. The leading rusher for Ohio State, you got Bo Jackson, 48 carries for 360 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then you have Khalil Valentine for the Illini, 61 carries for 323 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. Then the leading receivers, Jeremiah Smith, 35 receptions, 463 yards, and 6 touchdowns for the Buckeyes. Then again, Hank Beatty being the leading receiver for Illinois, 32 receptions, 569 yards, and 2 touchdowns. On the defensive side, Caden Curry is the leading tackler and sack player for the Ohio State Buckeyes. 29 total tackles, 18 solo tackles, and 5 sacks. Now, they are split between uh, Gabe Lucas and Miles Scott for the Illini. Jackus being the tackle leader. He has 8 solo tackles, 19 total tackles, 4 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles on the season, while Miles Scott has 31 total tackles, 22 of those being solo. So I think these games more or less speak for themselves. Ohio State coming in undefeated, facing 3 Power 5 opponents, Power 4 opponents, while Illinois does come in at 5-1, coming in beating four, uh, playing 4 Power 4 opponents, but they did have that very big loss to Indiana, a 63-10 loss at home. Or sorry, it was away, luckily, but it was still a very embarrassing loss for the Illini, and they haven't really been able to really fight back and climb back up in the rankings ever since that loss. They were a top 10 team in that game, and they are only up to number 17 at the moment in the polls. So I got to give this one to the Ohio State Buckeyes. But let's get into the game between the two Heisman favorites at the moment, between the Ducks and the Indiana Hoosiers. So we have an undefeated matchup in the Big Ten between a top 10 team, between two top 10 teams, with the Indiana Hoosiers taking on the Oregon Ducks at Autzen Stadium this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. The Oregon Ducks opened up as a 7.5 point favorite, even, and they are still a 7.5 point favorite at minus 105. The money line has Oregon at minus 280. And looking at the stat leaders, Fernando Mendoza obviously been a beast for the Indiana Hoosiers. 89 completions on 122 attempts, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1,208 yards through the air. Then you got Dante Moore on the other side for the Ducks. 100 completions on 134 attempts, 14 carries, and 1 interception. Has 1,210 yards on the season. For Indiana, Roman Hemby is the leading rusher yards-wise for the Hoosiers. 65 carries for 351 yards. I believe the other one, Kalian Black, 55 carries for 344 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. I don't think they are a very run-heavy team, the Hoosiers. Then De'Aaron Hill Jr., the leading rusher for Oregon, the true freshman out of Illinois. 26 carries for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has been having an amazing game. Obviously, also be looking up for Jordan Davison, Jaden Lamar, and Noah Whittington. They've also all been playing this season. And maybe we see a little bit more of Mekhi Hughes. However, he did ask for a red shirt this season. Leading receivers for these teams, Elijah Sherratt being the leading receiver for Indiana, 31 receptions for 6 touchdowns on 412 yards. Then you got DeCorian Moore, 19 receptions for 296 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also be looking out, of course, for Malik Benson, Gary Bryant Jr., Dylan Greshman, Justice Lowe, Jeremiah McClellan as the receivers for the Ducks. The sack leaders for these two teams. First is Isaiah Bones Jones, 24 total tackles on the season, 14 of those being solo tackles, and 3.5 sacks on the season. For the Ducks, Teo Uyunglele is a leading sacker for the Ducks. 11 total tackles, 9 solo tackles, and 4 sacks for Mateo. Then on total tackles, you want to be looking out for Lewis Moore. 19 solo tackles, 30 total, 3 interceptions on one pass deflection. Then for the Ducks, Bryce Betcher, 39 total tackles, 9 solo tackles, and 1 interception on the season for him. You also want to make sure Tatum Tuioti does not get on your bad side, as well as Bear Alexander. And the player with the winning play in the game against Penn State, of course, Dylan Thieneman. He has 20 tackles on the season, 9 solo tackles, 1 interception, and 1 pass defended. So watch out for Dylan Thieneman. Past weeks, Oregon has played 3 Power 4 teams. Oregon State does not count anymore, while Indiana has played 2 in Illinois and Iowa. Oregon's biggest win being against Penn State, 30-24 in double overtime. And Indiana's easily coming against Illinois, 63-10. And I've said it, and I'll say it again. This season, I'm not picking against my Ducks again. I'm taking the Oregon Ducks to win this game, probably by 1 to 2 scores. I would say around 34-24 in this game. I didn't want to make the same prediction I made last week for Miami, Florida State, but I think it will be a pretty similar game to at least what I thought Miami, Florida State was going to be. Just once again, ESPN has Oregon as a 69.5% chance to win this game, and Indiana to have a 30.5% chance to win this game. So yeah, guys, if you guys did enjoy, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe down below, and comment down below what you think is going to happen in this week of college football. Last week was chaos. Let's hope for some more this week. I bleed orange and green and yellow, and DJ out. I'll see you all in the next one.